BPO3 is supported by Timber King Sawmills. For more information on my 1220 CRZ mill, or one of many Foley hydraulic options, go to timberking.com. See how it's dripping? Top. But the goal is to get a bunch on there. It is shaping up to be a stretch of kind of uneventful productivity. You know what I'm saying? Like, I make videos for a living and you try to make it interesting, but sometimes it's just not interesting. It's just not interesting at all. So I think I'm going to take this opportunity to just kind of throw some thoughts out there, throw out what we're thinking, what we've got going on, because all I'm doing today is I'm running stickers on the sawmill and trying to run some more 10-foot boards. You guys have seen that a bajillion times from me in the past like month. A bajillion times in 1 month, that's a lot. So anyway, let me spin you around and show you what I did with some tractor therapy time. About a month ago, there was a solid wall of trees right there. So you see these posts right here? These are outlining Jamie's future garden, or next spring's garden. About a month ago, there was a solid wall of trees right there. So you see these posts right here? These are outlining Jamie's future garden, or next spring's garden. It is, I think it's, if I'm not mistaken, 50 by 150, 50 feet by 150 feet. That sounds about right. And then this right here, if you can pick it up on camera, is a shallow swale. Now it looks like there's actually two tracks here, and there is, because the tractor sunk and made ruts as I was trying to cut the swale on the right hand side. And that's a good representation of where the trees were, because I was leaning in and falling into the trees when I cut this. So this right here was all a wall of pine trees, and we got those down, stacked up over there, and I mulched all that. Well, why didn't I record any of that, right? Mulching and seeing the big before and after reveal is super interesting. Why didn't I record that? Well, because as I've said many times, tractor time to me is therapy time. I just love driving the tractor, doing things with the tractor, moving things with the tractor. It's just so much fun. And every now and then I'll get on the tractor and say, you know what, I'm not going to record, let's just see what happens. And one day I got out here moving the debris, and I said, let's see what happens. And 4 hours later I was done mulching. So you get carried away having fun sometimes, and so what if it's not recorded? But anyway, this was just a mound. You can still kind of see it right here. The tractor can't get in there. I can't easily get in there with the tractor just yet, not with the mulcher anyway. But this was just a huge mound of briars all the way out to about where Grace just peed on the camera. This was all briars and small pine saplings and sweet gums, so nothing of any value, not contributing anything at all. And then the briars kind of stopped, and it was just a big wall of pines, which again, not contributing to anything. They're youth pines. They're too clustered together. They're not spread out like these big ones that eventually will come down anyway. So I took them down, right? You guys saw that. And then used the mulcher to just clear all this stuff up. Man, it's just that mulcher. That's a Baumolite MP360. It is a fantastic machine, even with a small tractor like mine. I've only got 30 PTO horsepower, and here you go, right? So this is a stump. That's every bit of 6-7 inches in diameter. Probably a little bit too big for that mulcher, but I've got two options with that. I could either use the mulcher and just slightly shave it down and shave it down and shave it down to ground level and then leave it, or I can cut it to ground level with a chainsaw and then use the stump grinder to take it below grade. On an area like this, where I just want wild grasses to come back, and then we'll figure it out from there. I don't really need to get rid of that stump because the rotary cutter is just going to go right over the top of it. I don't care. That may rot into a hole eventually, probably, and we'll cross that bridge when it happens. But this is a, you know, a low priority area as far as like we don't have major plans for this area. Jamie wants to put goats over here. And I'm okay with that. Quick note on animals, right? Jamie wants goats. I'm okay with that. Jamie wants chickens. I'm okay with that. I've got so much stuff going on between doing the physical work over here on all this property, trying my best to be a good dad and a husband, and then recording everything that I'm doing, and then editing and all that stuff. And I'm not complaining. I love my life. I'm totally not complaining. But when it comes to adding other responsibilities, I told Jamie, you can get whatever you want to get if you are taking care of it, but I am not going to sign myself up for any more time-consuming obligations. I've just got so much stuff going on. It wouldn't be fair to the animals if I did that. So we're kind of dragging our feet on the chickens and now goats, just because we have so much other stuff going on, and that's definitely something that we want to do. My taste buds kind of dictate me or gravitate me towards carbohydrates way too often, and I shouldn't. I did the whole carnivore thing for about 2 years, and I felt amazing, absolutely amazing when I eliminated carbohydrates. But dadgummit, that's tough to do, especially. Bottom line, I don't have enough control to say no to carbohydrates sometimes, and sometimes I really do. I think I primarily get my nutrition from meat, and I feel so much better, but I'm a lifelong snacker. Anyway, where I'm going with that is Jamie loves vegetables, and she's going to do the garden, and I'll help her out the best I can. But a garden is not a priority for me, and never has been, and probably never will be. Although I do like the whole process of growing things. You know, you start at a seed and you watch it grow and you watch it develop, and this little itty bitty seed becomes this big thing. And you know, plants in general are just somewhat fascinating to me. Right? Trees, it's a plant. It's a different type of crop, right? So she's going to do the garden. Of course, I want the chickens for eggs, so I'll probably help out quite a bit with that. And of all things, she wants the goats for milk. She wants to milk the goats. And she's not a milk drinker. She just wants to milk the goats. So there's that. You know, the whole homestead thing is kind of like surviving off of the land, essentially, right? Modern homesteading is kind of, you know, drifted away from that. But we do want to do that. It's just a slow process for us because we've got so much stuff going on. And trying to stay active with our extended family and the community around us. It's just, life is busy. And again, I'm not complaining, I'm just making statements there. This is crazy how much this has opened up over here. And there was no hardwoods really through here. There's some small saplings or whatever, but nothing crazy as far as beautiful hardwoods. We've got a cluster of 3 sweet gums right here, and then a larger sweet gum right here. Now this is a good area that I'm probably gonna do a log bench. I'll probably do like two log rounds on the bottom and a big old slab at the top for a bench, just a nice little sitting area. I don't know what you'd look at. The house will eventually be right there, so so there's that. But I did save these, and then there's a hickory tree right there that looks pitiful right now, but it's healthy as far as I can tell. There's a cluster of sweet gums right here, and then another sweet gum right there. And then I'm going to keep pushing off into the woods because what I'm trying to get rid of is this never-ending growth of briars. I've knocked it back quite a bit, but these briars are just useless and annoying. And then of course, Chinese privet, 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 another one, another one, another one. And I think 2 right there. There's just so many of them. One of the goals with getting rid of all the junk was to expose these nice, beautiful oaks. We have some really nice, there's a red oak and a white oak side by side back there. A lot of hickories, a lot of walnut trees, a lot of ash trees. We've got a lot of beautiful hardwoods that for one reason or another we just can't see. There's crap in the way. And I do also want to get a lot more sunlight down through the canopy to get some grasses growing through here, because where we did all the clearing and have the natural grasses growing up further up the driveway by those walnut trees, in the summertime, I mean, it was just like a bird sanctuary and a butterfly sanctuary, and then there's rabbits running all the way through it. It really spiked the low elevation wildlife around there. See a bunch of snakes now around here, which for me I think is great. They're not venomous snakes. I haven't yet to see a venomous snake. Dude, that's a briar vine, buddy. Wait till you get a hold of one of those pokies. I tell you what, we feed these guys more than the recommended amount for their breed and body size. Well, for their body size, and they're just so active. They're constantly chewing on stuff, and they don't throw it up, so it's not like they're eating grass just to throw themselves up. But they eat a lot. They eat so much, but they're so active though. Yeah, this is just briars, a lot of ferns and briars and just nothingness. Oh, and old hydraulic oil buckets. Those are fun, especially when they sprout out of the ground, you know, naturally occurring hydraulic oil buckets. Jamie is up there putting anchor seal on the logs, which is fantastic. She volunteered to do that, and I said, I'm not going to stop you. The burn pile is massive from all these pines. That's going to be probably a January-ish big bonfire night, because that's the rainy season, and that by then they'll be dry enough to burn quite a bit. Now over here I do have a few larger stumps that I wasn't going to waste my time with on the Baumolite mulcher, because they're just too large a diameter, and take me forever to do with that. So I will cut these off, and I probably will use the stump grinder out here. So I got 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 stumps out here to give the stump grinder a good workout before I put it up for the winter time. Hopefully I can do that. Actually, I don't even want to say when I'm going to do it. So remember, this property originally had one four-wheeler trail running through it that I walked right when we closed on the property, and it's the driveway extended all the way from there through where I have this shallow swale going in between these trees and going into the woods. Let me walk in here and I'll show you a little bit of what I want to do out here. A lot of this stuff is just, I mean, it's just neglected, overgrown forest, and in one regard I guess that's fine, but I think we can do better, because what I'm trying to achieve is a balance between maintaining high wildlife, you know, lots of birds, and maintaining the canopy, but also getting more sunlight down to the ground to grow grasses. You know, Mississippi was primarily a grassland savanna, and then trees took over, especially these Chinese privets. That's just a huge cluster of Chinese privets. All of that right into the wood chipper. But that, as you can see, it shades out so much of the sun coming down to the ground. Now I've cleared out a little bit in between here with some of the smaller privets, some of the stuff that the grapple on the tractor could just pick and remove, but these bigger ones, the tractor can't do anything with it, so I've got to cut that. And that's a big cluster right there. There's another one right there. There's another one right there. There's another one right there, and there, and there, and there. And I've already moved 2 or 3 right here. So once I get these out of here, the natural trees, anything that's looks healthy and will sustain itself for a while, and there's no canopy competition, I'll let those grow, and I'll selectively remove the stuff that looks like it's going to struggle or looks like it doesn't belong here, and try and, like I said, maintain as much, you know, elevation wildlife while promoting ground wildlife. Yeah, the privets just keep expanding the further I go back into this little trail here. All of this is Chinese privets. And tucked away in all of this is, again, old growth oaks and hickories and walnuts. Like that's sister white oaks. I believe those are both white oak right there. Some big trees. I don't have any interest in taking these down right now, but those are going to be some nice saw logs right there. Nice straight. That's straight, 30 to 40 feet up. Beautiful. So this ventures into the hardwood side going that way. That's the main trail, but scattered through the hardwood side, especially near the trail, is pines. And I've got a couple of these monster pines that, you know what? There's a few of these pines I'm not going to take down. This dude right here is straight as an arrow. A lot of branches, straight as an arrow, and it is thick. So as long as that's healthy, I'm leaving that alone, because the majority of the stuff around it is privets. There's a few sweet gums there, but I want to clean this area up a little bit too, and that'll kind of be like a showcase tree or a highlight tree for this particular area. And going this way, we've got a bunch of, like I said, hardwoods that are just gorgeous. I like walking out here and just looking up, you know what I'm saying? Something else we've been working on off camera, trying to figure out the details and do a cost analysis on, is getting this apartment done. I think we're ready to get the camper out of the shop. It just takes up so much space. So what we're trying to balance a few different things. I don't want to spend a ridiculous amount of money on the shop. I'm sorry, on the apartment, because we still have a lot of other stuff to do here on the property with outbuildings for animals, whatever. We still don't have a house, you know, so I don't want to spend a tremendous amount making a super duper amazing apartment, but I also want it to be comfortable, right? Jamie doesn't want it to be so nice that we forget to keep our eye on the prize, which is the house, right? She doesn't want it to get so comfortable in there that we're like, yeah, let's keep kicking the can down the road for the house another 2 decades. So anyway, we're gonna go look at a tub tonight, and what we have settled on is 3 rooms. So that's that. The apartment is on the list of sooner rather than later, and we're going to start getting supplies. I don't want to mill up pine for the sticks of the apartment, the stick building of the apartment, just because I'm ready to go. It's just gonna be faster to go ahead and just buy dimensioned lumber for the stick framing, and then at that point I'm probably going to use some nicer pine for the walls. So we've got I'm going to show you this in just a second, but we've got some beautiful lumber coming out of the pine trees that are obviously not infected by the pine beetles, and then also this rustic lumber that has the beetle infecting qualities of the pine. And here is a good example. These beams over here almost look pressure treated. They have that kind of a green hue. They're not pressure treated. These are 8 by 8 by 12s, and that's a 10 by 10 by 8. But these beams over here have beetles in them. So of course you have the blue streaking, you have the beetle holes all the way through the surfaces. Some of the streaking's a little bit darker, right? Nothing new. But I took down a tree that didn't have any beetles in it, and it's just gorgeous. It's just beautiful stuff. So I'm going to take down some trees that don't have beetles in it for the interior walls of the apartment. And like I said, I just don't want to do a bunch of 2x4s and wait for them to dry to get the apartment going. Still don't have any idea about what or when with these hickory logs. The ends are sealed with anchor seal though, so there's that. But again, no easy way to put them on the mill. We're most anxious to get this pile of logs gone. This was the first pile I moved over when I made the log yard, and this was a just get it set somewhere and we'll figure it out later. Well, what we figured out is that's a bad location, so all the logs are going to go that way. I'm not going to move the logs again. That doesn't make any sense. So as I run through this pile, which is next on the agenda for later today, once this pile is done, it's going to be moved, and this will not be an eyesore in our way at all. This little raised bed idea, we like this idea. I like this idea because using up log rounds that are otherwise useless because of the beetles, essentially not entirely useless, that's way easier to do and a better use of the materials than actually sawing this up and then making boxes and all that. And the boxes will rot away way faster than these. Jamie's been burning in here just to keep a bunch of ash in this area, and I like it. What I don't like about this, it's kind of funny. This is a kind of like a crescent moon from where I'm standing, and we didn't measure anything. We just set it in place, and that's what it is. But when I fly the drone and I look down on this, I kind of don't like showing it because it looks like a certain piece of male anatomy, and it just it's a weird shape from an aerial view, we'll say. All of this needs to move further up against that tree line. Like I said, the more we tuck it away over there, the less you see it when you drive up. And when you drive up, it just looks like a log yard. I mean, it looks like a log yard. It looks junky, and neither one of us like it. All of this metal, it's finally in one spot, but again, it has to go that way quite a bit. I also have to figure out, as all this stuff goes that way, a dedicated location for stacks of lumber and such. This is all some really gnarly, not so wonderful looking pine that's going to be part of the trade with Nathan for a trailer. He's using that for a chicken coop siding. And Jamie's been over here just plugging away, like I said, putting armor seal on the end of these logs. Now we went ahead and did all the logs, but some of them are obviously not saw log size or quality. Like some of these are huge, right? That's a big log, that's a big log, that's a big one. That's still worth putting on the mill. But some of these smaller ones, like, nah, maybe I get a beam out of that, I don't know. All right, so we're on the back side of the shop, and do you see the driveway from where I'm standing right here? That's right, you don't. That's why the logs need to be right here. That way when you pull up, you can't see all of this stuff. And it also gives me a convenient spot to keep like a dedicated fire pit over here behind the shop near the sawmill for just the junk stuff that comes off of it. I hate having a bunch of fire pit or fire burn areas, but one of these next to a sawmill is kind of sort of a necessity. Oh yeah, I got to turn the camera off. I set up a time lapse for Jamie and forgot all about it. You know how kids always like the boxes? Well, not always, but kids like the boxes more than the toys sometimes. This was that junk pallet fort that we put together for Tyler, and I'm like, this is just crap, it'll fall apart, whatever. No, Tyler loves this thing, absolutely loves it. Hardly plays with toys inside, but she's always playing with this. The dogs come out here and join her, and that's great. She brought her bow and arrow target over here, and it's been great. You know what hasn't been great? My progress on this space. There was a little fella about a year ago, looked a little younger than me, who said that all of these trees are going to come down this past summer. I still plan on taking all these trees down and growing or establishing an orchard right here. That's just added to the list of you know, time and other priorities. So eventually, I don't know when eventually is, but it needs to happen sooner rather than later, because with an orchard it's going to take several years for that to start producing. But I'm only 39 and this is our forever property, so I've got a couple years at the very least to get it started. Let's take a walk up the driveway and check out the progress of the regrowth underneath these walnut trees. We started clearing up underneath these walnuts at the later part of last winter. One of the days we did this, there was actually some snow flurries on the ground, and we got it all the way up to the last, say, 40 feet or so of the driveway berm. This is the original material that was created, berm that was created when the driveway was established, right next to the culvert that goes under. And this is just the last little bit that we have to clear out, and then it'll look like this the whole way. Now, we didn't do any real mowing through here and let the grasses stay high. More grasses and roots in the ground, the better. Like I said, this was that area where it was just like a bird explosion, and bunnies and butterflies. Oh, there goes a bunch of birds right there. Now, it is fairly dense in there. There's a bunch of Chinese privets. I don't know, I'm kind of torn. You know, Chinese privets are invasive and they're quite annoying. They grow like crazy and they spread like crazy, but there are a lot of birds there, and I don't know if I want to mess with that too much. I have a burn pile right here that I'm probably just going to leave and let it break down and be an area for wildlife. Something else that you can't see, and I can't even tell you where it's at. Oh, there goes a bird right there. Somewhere right there, I dug a pretty decent size, maybe like a a 15-foot oval-ish little watering hole, deep enough to where it'd fill up with water, just to give the wildlife a place to drink, and somewhere that was hidden where it's not going to be seen and whatnot. And I think that's helping. That was a great suggestion by someone in the comments. So I don't know how much I'm going to further clear into there, because there is quite a bit of wildlife to begin with, even though those privets are invasive. And then on this side over here, this was all, well, still is, it's all nice and leveled out. And I didn't plant any of these grasses. What we did plant over here didn't really take off crazily. We just threw some bean seeds and we threw some sunflower seeds, and I think that's it. Maybe some clover. Nah, I don't think we did clover over here. So we didn't do a whole lot. And everything coming back is just natural regrowth. You know, the seeds, the seed bank that's in the soil. I do have a four-wheeler trail running right through the middle of it, which is nice for us anyway. Not really for wildlife. But these two, like 2 or 3 burn piles that I have, I'm gonna leave them. Just grasses cover them, and it's nice cover for small animals. But all these small little bitty pines right here, you can see got some beetles killing it right here. This one's dead. I'm gonna just knock these down, I think, and just let them fall where they fall, and let wildlife use them as a little bit of a habitat. These smaller pines, they don't do anything for us. They're too clustered together. They're not valuable at all. And like I said, all the pines are eventually coming down on this property anyway. And then inside this cluster of privets is a bunch of hickories, and you can see how the hickories, all the different trees change colors at different times, it seems like. So, you know, one week it's the hickories, one week it's the oaks. Of course, the walnuts, they lose their leaves the fastest, and they're the last to come back too. So it's interesting observing all these different trees and whatnot. But yeah, all these pines, I'm just gonna lay them down. They're 8 inches and less in diameter. Just lay them down. Beetles are already getting them too, so there's that. This is one of my favorite views on the property, on the driveway. It snakes around these walnut trees, and as it turns, your focal point as you come in the driveway is over there, and then you're forced to look at this row on a perfect angle of walnuts. And then when you go that way, you're straight on to the point of what will be the future orchard. And then there's so many like forced focal points that it's just awesome. I love this. This is so cool. Especially, like I said, when everything was in full bloom during the summer. Just really nice. It's shaping out to be a really, really beautiful property. I think that's pretty much it for this video. Like I said, I'm just doing mundane work today, just boring stuff. So good opportunity to do a little mind dump. You know, I'm using these videos to pay for this lifestyle, right? Make videos for a living. But I'm also making these videos for us as a family. Every now and then we'll start watching some of the older videos and see how much has changed, and it's just a fun experience, you know? Fun experience that I don't think we would have had if we stayed at our last house. I know we wouldn't have had if we stayed at our last house. I can always go back and look at the woodworking videos and see how much my woodworking has changed. But this, with all 3 of us involved, our family is growing through this. And it's just, man, it's just a rewarding lifestyle. That's it for this one. You guys take care, and I'll talk to you in the next video.